Coming to you from London, England, the original Exterminator Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Exterminator Podcast, brought to you from London, England by Integrum Services. Today we'll be covering the latest industry news as well as discussing new products with our guest Dave Helgeson from Rat Pak Engineering Limited. Remember, if you enjoy this, we'll be aiming to release content on at least a weekly basis, available on all major podcasting platforms.
If you've got a news story, product, or anything you want to chat about, or even if you want to come on the podcast, drop us an email, studio@theexterminator.co.uk.
And now, introducing this week's special guest.
So today we're joined by Dave Helgeson from Rat Pak, who's come to have a chat with us on a couple of news stories and tell us about some of the things going on at Rat Pak. So, hello, Dave.
Hello, boys. Thank you very much.
For the latest industry news, products, and stories, the Exterminator Podcast.
So there's been an update on fogging, antiviral fogging released by the HSE. Now, it did seem to be, back at the very beginning of the pandemic, everybody jumped on doing this. And for some reason, the pest control industry was kind of just by default, I think potentially through having the equipment available, such as ULV foggers and backpack foggers and things like that, I think we were kind of the first stop for most people to call beyond their FM companies or their cleaning companies. We started doing it, and we started doing it fairly early on after some research into how we could do it realistically for our aviation sites. But a lot of people did seem to just jump on this bandwagon, and some of the prices that we saw floating around for this service, and still do see flying around for these services even now, have been really just atrocious. It's just exploitation in some instances that, you know, people need this service doing, and they need these treatments carried out, but there are some people that are really making the most out of this and just using it as an opportunity to make thousands and thousands of pounds, when I think from our perspective we've not treated it too differently to any other fogging treatment that we would do. Yes, at times there's some cost implications with the prep needed, but on the whole we've kept our costs just reasonably priced, reasonably low. We've recently carried out some work for some flats in London. They're undergoing renovation, and I think we won the work. We've done 2 treatments for them already, but I think we were £1,700 cheaper than the next nearest quote that they had. To the point where the guy rung us back and said, "Is that your cost per flat, or is that the cost for the whole treatment?" And he was astonished when we told him, "No, that's the cost for the whole treatment. We're not in this to just exploit the issue. You know, everybody's struggling due to this pandemic. Yeah, everybody wants to make money, but you know, give everyone a chance at the same time as well, and look after people. And you know, it pays off because they come back to you again in the long run." But what's your opinion on this kind of becoming a pest control or a pest related job as opposed to a cleaning issue? What are your thoughts on it?
I don't see why it shouldn't be a pest control related treatment at all. You know, as you said, the guys themselves they're not just equipped to do the job, but they're also, you know, familiar with the application. They're familiar with the chemicals in use. You know, whichever one is your chosen medicine, so to speak. They've got a lot of experience, and when you've dealt with, like as a for instance, you know, fogging in an area where there's had a load of pigeon guano and whatever else, and you're damping down and making it safe for cleaning out, well, pre-clean or post-clean. That's a horrible job in itself. And so really a COVID treatment is a lot more straightforward. And if it's done correctly, you're using the right stuff, I think it should form part of what the pest controllers do, as well as perhaps a sanitation company.
It does seem to have settled into, quite certainly into our routine day-to-day running of the business as something that we're really just used to offering it as standard now. It's not, it doesn't feel like it's something particularly new. Like, we already had all the equipment to be able to do it. It was just a case of researching what we needed. Obviously, there's a lot of different chemicals available. Some where the residual effect, so to speak, is not so great. It's kind of only as good as the actual time that you do it. But there are other chemicals around that are claiming to be active and be sufficient to provide a solution for up to 90 days. Now, I'm not 100% sure that that's just not under lab conditions, because there's kind of
that would be my concern. Is not the quality of the chemical. It's what happens in the site post treatment.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've with some chemicals in particular, we've looked into these ones that'll have a 90-day lifespan, and it's the kind of stance is, it will last for up to 90 days, but we recommend that you do it every 30 to be on the safe side. So we're in a realistic environment, it's going to last for a month, which is still pretty good, to be fair. It just depends on how much you've actually got to do and how much it's going to cost you in prep, because I think the last time we checked, it was reasonably expensive. So in some instances, it might work out cheaper to use a slightly less expensive product on a more regular basis, because the actual costs are just they're poles apart in some instances. But it's all about determining what's right for the client and what's right for that particular site.
That's true, and I think also what we have to take into consideration is looking at the industry in total. Is that for the last 11 and 12 months and so on, there's been so much effect on pest controllers' own clients. You see, myself and the other suppliers in the industry, we look at the pest controllers as our clients, but the pest controllers themselves, you've got your takeaways and your restaurants, your pubs and all this, and they've been hit so hard, and that's going to have a knock-on effect on your work. And if you can recoup some of the difference by doing COVID treatments, and that buffer carries you through the quieter times when perhaps some of your customers would have been locked down, then not only are you qualified to do it, but it's got to help the industry as well. There's a whole load of people out there who, if it wasn't in the hands of the professionals, would still be trying to, I suppose you'd say, cash in, and they really would. They could make a hash of it. Really, it's best left to guys like yourselves. Lots and lots of pesties up and down the country. They'll do a good job.
I think you're right there, Dave. To be honest, I think it is best left to an industry that's qualified sufficiently in the use of a number of different chemicals. So it does make sense, really, that it's gone mainly down the route of the pest control industry that are carrying out these treatments. With the HSE have just issued some new guidelines on this, and just to quickly summarise, they're really just reiterating the fact that you need to follow the manufacturer's instructions to make sure that you're using the product safely and effectively. But really, as far as pest control goes, any good pest controller should be following the label at all times anyway, regardless of what products you're using. So there shouldn't really be any major issues there. I would say that the biggest concern, and it's one of the things they highlight right at the very beginning of the article, is just making sure that the technicians that are actually doing the work are trained to do so. But I think, in my opinion, I think that there's just taking the virucidal fogging out of it you could apply that to almost every task in the pest control industry. I think although there is an awful lot of very good technicians out there, and many companies that are out there carrying out their work with sufficiently trained and sufficiently qualified technicians who are all certified to do this. But by the same token, there's an awful lot that fly under the radar that aren't members of any particular trade bodies or any notable trade bodies, and they're not necessarily qualified. And if they start offering these kind of services, where's their documentation to back up their claims that they know what they're doing? So I think overall, yes, pest control industry can carry on doing it. The BPCA stance is proceed with caution, which is fine. They're not claiming to be experts on this at all. They're saying really they're kind of backing off from it a little bit, saying if you want to do it, but we can't really give you any advice because, well, we're the British Pest Control Association, not the British Virucidal Fogging Association. So I can see why they distance themselves from it a little bit, but at least they're publishing the advice that comes out by the HSE, just so that everybody does know what's going on. So I think really the message now is carry on until such point that this is no longer required. And if the opportunity is there to boost business by doing this and offering this service, as long as you're doing it safely and effectively, and you're competent at what you're doing, there shouldn't be any issues.
No, I agree, and I think that they're no different, really. I mean, they could bring out new rules and new regulations. It's highly unlikely. It would be stupid, really, to assume that they were going to bring out regulations that would make the application of these treatments impossible. Yeah. They're only going to ask for the same equivalent of health and safety standards for this treatment as you would apply for working at height, confined spaces, or whatever. And the fact that they're bringing out rules suggests that they're behind it anyway. So we should all move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great. I think we've covered that sufficiently for today. Thanks, Dave. That's great. Pete, are you going to move on with yours?
With the fogging, we just so you know what we've seen. We've seen companies charging between £600 to £1,000 just to come and do a survey before completing the fogging. Okay. Yeah. Which is crazy, but then there was a video circulating around on one of the pest controller groups on Facebook, and it was a chap with a handheld electric fogger, and he was fogging fruit and vegetables in a shop, so the shop could sell fruit and vegetables which have been treated. And there was people walking around in the shop while he's fogging it, people picking up products. And you just see it, you think, oh my God, what are you doing? How do you get away with this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the sort of horror stories that we don't need. And this is why, so much more important that you train guys do it. You boys are so in tune with, the correct procedures involved for something that we would consider straightforward. Let's say treating a wasp nest. You've got chemicals involved, you've got people, children, pets, whatever. You have to take all these precautions on something as straightforward as a wasp nest. Why shouldn't a COVID treatment be the same? And why are you going in there spraying something? It's not an insecticide, of course. It's it's a biocide or whatever. And there's some very, very good ones around. But you've got your common sense. There's no substitute for it. Training is one thing, common sense is another. It boggles the mind. It really does.
Oh, it's unbelievable. But on a slightly different story, and we're kind of skirt over this one a little bit until a bit more information's come out. But it's regarding grey squirrels. I'm looking over at my other monitor at the moment, but it's regarding grey squirrels and the UK government backing looking into birth control for grey squirrels. So a lot of this has come from a group called the UK Squirrel Accord, which is, if you're not familiar, is basically a group of 39 conservation and forestry organisations, government agencies and companies with a lot of links to red squirrel conservation groups.
Yeah.
So what's kind of come out is that they're looking at the moment of baiting grey squirrels with, as it says here, little pots of hazelnut spread. They're looking into boxes, feeding boxes at the moment, which will contain this product, and is basically going to be spiked with oral contraceptive. And they've done a little bit of research into it, and they feel that they could, the Animal and Plant Health Agency feels that by using this method, it could reduce grey squirrel numbers by as much as 90% in the UK. It looks like they've compared it to trapping and shooting of grey squirrels.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like sort of the initial results in short-term trials are obviously shooting and trapping is going to get control much quicker than contraception. So in the short term, trapping and shooting does get that quick sort of short-term control. But obviously you're looking at a greater control over time with the contraception. But most importantly, it looks like where they're sort of aiming it is the contraception is much more publicly accepted, because in essence, you're not killing them, you're just preventing them from breeding.
Absolutely.
And I think it'd be really interesting for the pest control sector, because I know certainly for us, since sort of squirrel breeding season earlier in the year, we have seen no drop this year at all in squirrel call-outs. We are still getting phone calls in for squirrel control every day.
Yeah.
We're in London, so the bulk of our work is London, and it's flat out busy. But it's sort of one to watch for the pest control sector, I think, because if they reduce squirrel population by 90%.
The question is, my first thought, I mean, on paper, it sounds like a great idea. And as I understand it, for some time now, especially in America, where in some of their cities, they've got humongous rat problems. They've been looking at exactly the same as, they've got some of the big boys, the laboratories and whatever, working on something that they can introduce into sewers, that it would then pass through the chain of rats and gradually sterilize them as a species and cull it. But they clearly haven't got to the bottom of it, and I would wonder about its efficacy. Is there some kind of, like a moral issue there? Like almost, well, if it works, then maybe we could try it on other things, And so what about foxes? What about badgers? What about this, that, and the other? And the squirrels are a problem, of course, because they're non-native. They're affecting our native species that we want back, and it's more of a pressing issue. But I mean, I don't know whether it would work as clinically as they're suggesting that it will. It certainly do. I still see that the pest control role in maintaining squirrels and their numbers would be still a big thing for the foreseeable future. It would be very interesting to see how it pans out, though.
Yeah, no, it would be. And, if they do go ahead with it, it might be an opportunity for pest controllers to get involved in this, because if they want to roll it out across the UK, that's going to require a massive amount of resources.
Absolutely. Yeah.
A massive amount of placement, bait placement, checking, things like this. Yep. And probably the most suitable people to do that will be pest controllers. And
monitoring numbers is going to be a big thing as well. This week, next month, and so on. And how that's going to pan out. I mean, possibly trail cams and so on and so forth, where you can leave, like a permanent monitoring, something that you can then review over. And then you sort of do like a period count over an hour, 3 hours, 24 hours, and whatever else, and then take that day to day, week to week. I can't. You ain't going to sit in a hive counting them physically for week and week. It's well, I mean, I'll do it if you want to pay me, Peter. I mean, it's up to you, mate.
Oh, mate, we'd do anything if we paid for it, wouldn't we? But I think it'd be really interesting. And like you said, is if they do go with this, where's it going to go next?
That's the question.
It does, but again, it could be an opportunity for people like yourselves as not just a distributor, but a manufacturer as well. That at some point they're going to be looking for a large scale box or facility to do this. So
Yeah.
One for you boys to have a look at.
Well, why not? I mean, it's there's you look at what we have on the market now from all suppliers, all manufacturers for rats and mice and boxes, traps and rodent, all these things that weren't there last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and whatever else. Where are we going to be? What's the industry going to call upon us to supply and make? We have to be flexible, and of course, we have to be sort of very much on the mark, because otherwise it'll pass us by and it won't get solved.
No, absolutely. Jamie's I think got something to come in.
Just regarding the squirrel baiting.
Yeah.
It would be a hell of a program that you'd have to roll out in terms of trying to actually implement that.
Yes.
Now, maybe they are trying to do this in order to prevent lethal control to already mature grey squirrels. But there's a part of me that thinks, well, if you're going to put these so-called little pots of hazelnut spread out, what's really to stop you from doing that alongside something like the good nature traps? Now, there's various opinions going around about their efficiency, but if you can attract it to a good nature trap, then realistically, if it works, the good nature is going to take care of that problem, and you're not going to have to keep replenishing the sterilisation bait. It's just it'll keep working. They'll never get to it. So I don't know how realistic it would actually be to implement it effectively, but it'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on.
You see, also they would have to have for control purposes, like a definitive start date and finish date. There would have to be all kinds of monitoring in the middle. It would have to involve any number of bodies. I mean, would this be one massive national company rolling it out? Would it be a series of smaller companies working in chain with each other? Would it just be environment agency controlled? It's a great idea, but a logistical nightmare potentially. And I just wonder about the actual application of it.
So. No. And I think, okay, even if you do sterilise these, the current population, that doesn't really do anything to prevent them causing damage to properties or gaining ingress to loft places and cavities and things like that. You're still ultimately, if squirrels become an issue to either a domestic or commercial building internally, there's still going to be a requirement to trap and remove. More than likely using lethal methods.
Yeah, and also this sterilisation. I mean, there has to be the contraceptive, call it what you will. There has to be some kind of product, chemical, active ingredient in it that causes the effect. Now, is it only going to cause it? What if something quite accidental gets it? What if it got in the north of England? If it started to affect red squirrels?
Yeah, absolutely.
How can you be selective? It's not DNA selective. So there's a lot of potentially. I think it's like a great idea on paper and a very hard one in practice. Really.
Yeah. And I think even if you're baiting in an area with a high squirrel population, you still can't be 100% sure that every single one of those squirrels has consumed equal amounts of that particular chemical that it's going to be effective. If you only get if only 50% of them are sterilised, okay, you're going to get potentially half the newborns when the breeding seasons roll around, but you're still going to get them. So,
do we know? Excuse my ignorance on this one, although I'm familiar with the entire sort of subject without the intricacies of it. Is it? Do you know? Is it something that affects the male of the species not being able to fertilise, or the female of the species not being able to produce, the young, or how does it? Which gender does it affect?
Pete's done most of the research on this, so I will let him pick that one up.
It doesn't actually say. I'm hunting through, and I'm going to drop an email to them and have a chat and see what they come up with. But
Mm-hmm.
I think yeah, absolutely. But it's going to be a challenge, like you said, where there is red squirrel population, because box design, I think it doesn't matter how well you design the box, there's still going to be the ability for non-target to get in there. Yeah. That's going to be difficult. So you've got the red squirrel issue, and the other one's going to be is there any secondary effect to that?
Exactly. Yes, indeed. Yeah. I mean, what kind of residual would the body carry, and its its effect on the system of the predator?
Yeah.
Where chemicals are involved, there's always the initial problem, secondary problems, long-term problems. Oh mate, this is why rangers, the rangers who look after the red squirrel population, they don't bother with traps and blah blah blah. They just go around with guns and they shoot anything that's not red.
For the latest industry news, products and stories, the Exterminator Podcast.
Back at Rat Pak now. Great to see you back. You very kindly sent us some of your new duo boxes, which we've been having a look at. Really solid. We really like them, but they're your product, so tell us all about them.
Well, they've been on the drawing board for quite some time, frankly, and they actually have been released a lot longer than people have been giving them credit, but they weren't marketed perhaps like they could have been, and now of course it's my mission in life to let everybody know, and it makes it so much nicer to tell folks about something which is, I believe in as well. They are well made. We put a great stall in what we make and how we make it and how we design it and so on. There's a revision coming out for that box even as we speak. I can't say what because it isn't there yet, but I will do in time. But all the same, it's it was made to supplement the quick lock range. So anybody who's using our plastic Durabait box or our steel Ultra Pro box, our other mouse box, the Microbait, which is just a bait station, the one key fits all, and that in itself was very, very important. Most of our bait stations all work off that one steel key, and a lot of guys love it. And it's credit to Brian who started Rat Pak that he had this idea and stuck to it, because it's borne fruit over the years. It's built our reputation up anyway.
Yeah, no, I've got one in front of me at the moment, and I know Jamie has, and just having a bit look through it, and people that haven't seen the boxes or had the opportunity yet, it's probably sort of double the size of a normal sort of bait point, internal bait point.
Yes.
It's got a double entrance system. The entrance tunnel has got a bit of a bend on it.
Yeah, baffles. Yeah, that's right.
Baffled. There we go. There's the technical term. Baffled. Really nice. And then inside, you've got the ability to put in 2 snappers, mouse snappers. Yep. And then in the sort of corners at the top or the back of the box that would go up against the wall, you've got your 2 baiting points, which have got rods in here as well, so you can rod the bait on.
Or monitoring.
It's also lipped as well, so if you wanted to use loose grain or anything like that, that can.
That's right. Yes, indeed.
And that little bit in the middle there, Dave, is that a little slot for an emitter type device?
Yeah, we were trying to sort of future-proof them by, we do the emitters as well, and it's monitoring systems like that, those that sort of send off a beep, send off a mobile phone signal. I think that it's the way forward, even though there's lots of different ones at the moment, and some people swear by one, some people swear by another, but we had to try and build something in that would facilitate some kind of monitoring system to be included.
Yeah, and another sort of difference that we've noticed to a similar-ish product that's out there is you've got a riveted hinge on this.
Yes. Well, here's the difference between all of our plastic boxes and the standard box. And I want to say right now that I am not knocking, if you like, what you would call other manufacturers' boxes, because there's some very, very good ones around there, good manufacturers. They've been tested for years and they work really well. But when we started back in 2015, when we brought out the Quick Lock range, including the plastic boxes, we wanted something different. And the way to make them different was to have them fabricated, as opposed to your typical plastic box design. Now, with that, what happens is raw plastic goes in one end of an injection molding machine, and out of the other end of the machine comes a whole box, and that's box, hinge, and lock. And this is why you get these weird and wonderful keys that you've all got. And if you've got this box, you need that key, and that box, you need that key, and so on. We all know how it works. What we wanted to do was to have it where the top comes out, the bottom comes out, and then there's a guy who puts them together. And when he puts them together, he also fabricates the lock, and he gives it a chance to test the lock and install the spikes. And so when you've got it, you haven't got something which has gone in raw and come out whole. You've it's come out in pieces and been put together by a guy. And so our manufacturing costs are higher, but we like to think the box reflects that in quality.
To be fair, it is a rock solid box. I mean,
good luck with that.
Yeah, and that's the fact that I know it's something we all see. It's all the time. You turn up the site and your box is smashed to pieces.
Yeah, no, I 50 pieces now.
Go on, Jay. You wanna come in?
Yeah. Pete touched upon the fact that it was a riveted hinge, which is really good. I just wondered, we've mentioned briefly already that there are other very similar products to this available that we have used and do use, and to great effect. But some of the feedback on those has generally been when you shut the box, it triggers your snap traps because it snaps shut. Now, there has been issues in the past that have been acknowledged where it's actually been the traps themselves that have been the issue. Manufacturing defect on the traps. Everyone holds their hands up, replace the traps, job done. We didn't have any issues beyond that, did we? It was fine. What about this box, Dave? When this was being designed, if you know, what prompted you guys to go with it being a side hinge rather than opening up front to back in the style of your competitors' products?
It lent itself to that style by the nature of the key and the lock.
Yeah.
It's easier to put it on the end than it is to put it in the middle. But also, we had, I suppose you'd say, a winning formula with the Durabate, the Rat box, because that also opens up from the end. If that works, then why shouldn't it work on other things? There's the fixing systems where you might fix it to the wall, however it is you choose to screw them, glue them, whatever it might be. Once it's in place, if you're opening from the end, you don't get the issue of the box top knocking against the wall while you're trying to open it. And so really it solved about, 4 or 5 different problems just by doing it that way, as opposed to trying to make it a long way opening, if you know what I mean, or a side way opening.
That's fine. No, it's a great design. Just really was interested to find out the reasons behind that, which you've explained fantastically there. So we're certainly looking forward to getting these out on some sites. God knows we've got some sites that will need them. So we'll start rolling these out, and then hopefully in the not too distant, we'll be able to give you some feedback on what sort of results we're getting.
Lovely.
And, they take order.
Yeah, they take all the main brands of trap. The only ones where you might struggle are those where the base is of a slightly different footprint. Something like like your mini T-Rexes and some of the mouse traps that have like an emitter in them, because to get the mechanism in, they have to make them slightly wider or whatever. But for your Victors, the Gorillas, the Snappies, and whatever, they all fit, they all work.
To be honest, I've just I was looking on the Rat Pak website now, which we can give that a bit of a plug. It's ratpak.co.uk. And you've got a picture on there for the with these quick lock duo baits with the bait station set up with 2 Victor traps inside it, the more traditional looking mouse traps. And to be honest, that is not something that I would have thought to do and have not seen in the past. But it's another option on top of your traditional yellow bar or red bar mouse traps. So I think that's certainly something that we could look to do, and you never know, the results could be good.
Well, I mean, I think sometimes that when it comes to the actual traps, I'm perhaps drifting off the subject a bit, but when it comes to the difference between your mouse trap and your rat trap, you've got a lot more flexibility in mouse traps. You know, mice are so much more fragile, if you will, and your mouse trap doesn't need to be so ultra powerful. Some of the rat traps, the guys have used them in the past, and they've noted rats not being quite caught clean, and they're wriggling their way back out of the trap. You don't get that quite so much with mice.
No.
And so really that little black Victor trap that we use as part of the thing is a cracking little simple trap, and it works well in the box, and it worked well for sort of advertising purposes, if you will. Yeah. So that's why I did it.
Really good. All looks really good, mate. So yeah, I think we'll be looking to get these out as soon as we can.
Lovely.
And give you some feedback in due course.
Oh, welcome it.
So just moving away from the duo box, unless there's anything else that you want to say about it, Dave?
Not really. It's I mean, it's available in green and black. We can print company details on the top and personalise them to a certain level, and they match in colour the rest of the range of boxes that we do, and we're quite happy. But apart from the fact that we're always looking to make them better still, so more news on that as it's made.
Oh, we look forward to hearing that. So one thing I've always liked about you, Dave, and we spoke about it the other day, is you're really straight shooting, and you'll always find out if for anybody, your customers, even not your customers, if someone's after some advice or information or an opinion on something, you are, I would say, one of the go-to people in the pest control sector, because you will, even if you don't know, you'll say, give me 10 minutes, give me an hour, and you always call back and try and get the information. So on that front, because we haven't tried it yet, we've noticed that you're now doing Selontra, the latest bait.
Yes.
The next generation, as you would say. It's obviously it's been out before, and in a different formation. I'm just getting up on your website now. So Selontra, tell us about it. Tell us what you think, and tell us what feedback you've had.
Well, I suppose you might refer to it as the next generation, but I think it's just it's perhaps it was the next logical step, because when it comes to rodenticides, we've been banging on the same drums for quite some time now, and I think going forward, all we're going to see realistically is more variations on a theme. Whether it's your bromadiolones or whatever, or through alpha chlorulose and so on. And this, of course, as you said it yourself, it's been out previously, and it was always likely to be a very effective stopper of rats, but the problem was palatability. They would rather chew their own leg off than chew some of this rodenticide. And actually, we shouldn't call it a rodenticide, but its action is very quick and thorough. And when you talk to them, or when you hear the manufacturers discussing it, it sounds almost too good to be true. Almost sounds like a sales pitch, but really, when you've seen it, and I have seen it, I've done my own sort of studies for my own peace of mind. I've been out with the local pest controller to me. We've done the initial placement, the 48-hour checkup, the 7 days after that, the 727 as BASF refer to it, and some of it, frankly, was astonishing. The take. I've been very, very mindful in telling to people, look, please, guys, this is not the be all and end all. This is not the answer to all your questions, and it is a very expensive answer. But at the same time, don't discard it because it's expensive, and definitely don't discard it if you're having sites where you've got troubles. There's no it is thought that there's going to be no resistance issues. There should be going forward. That is, there should be take on this where perhaps there's been no take on previous rodenticides that you've put down. And the whole action of the cholecalciferol active ingredient just works so much. It's not a poison. It's not a drug like alpha chlorulose. It works with the metabolism of the rodent. It metabolizes the calcium from the bones, deposits it within the stomach and the linings of the thing, and just and stops the rodents eating. It's a great idea. It always was a great idea. They had trouble turning it into a practical, applicable solution, that they would actually eat.
Yeah, no, obviously we've been on and we've done our training ready to use it, and we've wanted to put it out at sites, and our guys have wanted to put it out at sites, but we've not been sure or confident that it's the right site to do it. And it was quite good. I was watching watching one of the videos on it this morning with I believe it was Oliver Madge.
Yeah, Oliver.
Was doing some work done on a pig farm in Hampshire, and it made me think. Probably 7 or 8 years ago, I went into a hotel chain down in Hampshire, and it was just to come and have a look at an issue that was going on. They had ongoing issues with rats in the grounds, and another company, a national company, had been servicing this site for a long time, and they were going through sacks and sacks of anticoagulant rodenticide, and for whatever reason they just hadn't looked at resistance. And when you kind of went into it, it was right smack in the middle of the area of resistance. We went in and went old school, kind of like you should before you're putting down rodenticide. We just went to trapping. And back from sort of farming and gamekeepering days, we put in tunnel traps. We built in permanent tunnel traps with fen traps, and immediately within probably 2 weeks, we saw a massive difference in the number. And it just makes me think, and a site like that would have been brilliant for this. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think this is where it's going to score big. I don't believe that it's necessarily going to take over from anything that's currently still has its effect because of the cost difference and so on and so forth. And sometimes if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you're having good luck with brodifacoum or diphthialone or whatever it might be, then stick with it. No need to bring out a bigger gun if you can shoot it with a smaller one. And I think all this does is it's not going to replace anything. It's not going to supersede anything. It's just that extra string to the bow that you can call upon when everything else appears to be eluding you. It's where there's resistance, bait shyness, and you do get box shyness. You can't get around that with a change of rodenticide or whatever. But to have this as an extra tool in the armory, I think it's invaluable. I really do. And every guy should consider it, even if ultimately they don't go for it, maybe because the price is prohibitive or whatever. But I think it's going to, in time, it's still very new, of course. I think it's going to be a bit of an eye opener for some guys.
Yeah, no, I think it will. And we're going to, after this, we said earlier, we're going to reach out. We've got a contact at BASF, and we're going to try and get them on to one of the podcasts at the moment. I know.
Yeah, I did.
And you've seen it, I'm sure, in the past. As different products come out, there's generally a massive swarm towards it from pest controllers, and it's 2 visits, any size infestation, it's going to work. And one of the products that I know always stands out to me and Jamie, and this is back from our days at Cannon Pest Control, is when Black Pearl come out. Okay. And our colleague at the time, obviously, he'd used the active ingredient in the past, and it was great. And we went ahead and we ordered pallets of it, and it went out to the technicians. And I think it was about 3 years later, all those pallets, other than the sort of 40 buckets that went out to the technicians, all of those pallets of black pearl were sent for disposal.
Yeah. I think that was it's a very unusual situation surrounding the black pearl and its history in the early days when Lodi released it, and it's I think also, as my understanding, it's a different product now than it was when it was going through its bad times. But it doesn't take much to put people off for life. There's a brand new alpha chlorelose just hit the market now, Ridmus Alpha, and we're waiting to see how that performs. It's very, very brand new, and we've got no feedback on it. But turning to the Selontra, it's one of them things that I know time will tell, and you're not going to get that thing waving a magic wand and putting the rat or the mouse problem, whatever it might be, right overnight, especially on some sites, because new infestations can come in as fast as you're clearing out the old ones. But if it's used right, if you follow the BASF guidelines and so on, there's no reason why really, to a degree, it shouldn't work on any site, cost allowing, and guys really don't get put off because it's new. Don't always like, well, we fear change, and also by counter, you don't think it's going to be the magic bullet that's going to kill everything. Just treat it like it is. It's a new thing, and it has its place. Use it wisely, and you'll get the results, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything. Jamie, you want to come in on with Selontra?
I think Dave's right, but he just touched on the point that people shouldn't be afraid to use it just because it's new. I think there's a lot of resistance to change certainly in this industry anyway. We've seen it countless times over the years, and it doesn't matter whether it's new back-end systems, new products, new processes. Anyone that's set in their ways, they don't want to do it. So if everybody's open to new ideas and new products and new innovations, then it's only a good thing for the industry. Helps the industry move forward and keep progressing, and helps everyone stay successful as well. You could argue, I think certainly in amongst our sort of most contacted pest controllers, really probably Romax Venom has been the go-to for
it's very good.
2 years plus, and it is fantastic even to this day. I think where we benefit, certainly as a business, we're not tied into any one particular supplier or brand, so we can change and change things up with the industry as we need to. So in many ways, we've got that freedom to try new things without having to jump through many hoops to get to that point. We're not being told we've got to persevere with one particular product because that's what we use and we've got a lot of it. In all honesty, we don't order and go through masses of rodenticide. We don't have a lot of waste, do we? Because we order what we need, and we know the products that we like to use. So really, this will get trialed. We will see what happens with it, and we'll go from there. If it proves to be effective, it's another weapon in our toolbox. Certainly not something to be feared. Absolutely. And the same goes for the Ridmus as well. I think we'll look to try and get hold of some of that and try that out too, because I think as great as the Romax Venom is, the lipo gel, like everything, it is probably going to run its course at some point, and we can't keep going back to that well and throwing the same products down at it, because ultimately you're going to get to the point where you do need to change things up anyway.
It's true. A change is as good as a rest on a lot of sites, and I think that the key for a lot of guys to remember is you're not using that rodenticide. As for instance with the Selontra, it's not the rodenticide you were using last week. So don't try and use it the same.
No.
Stick to manufacturer's guidelines. It's very, very much in the same vein as treating a wasp nest with, in the old days, you'd have your FICAM, and now perhaps you might use Vulcan.
Yeah.
And say, oh, I don't like the Vulcan so much because it doesn't do this. Look, you're trying to use the Vulcan like you try to use the FICAM. It's not the same. If you adapt and I'll use it slightly differently, perhaps a little more, and do it you'll get the same results. And I think Selontra is the same. It's not bromidilo. Don't use it as bromidilo.
I think that's the key. Yeah, you're right. Don't use it exactly the same. I think, again, there's an awful lot of people will have a van full of products and are likely to just grab a couple of blocks or a couple of sachets of the first thing that they've got and sling it in, and not necessarily bait properly. We see, unfortunately, even now, there's still some pretty shocking external baiting practices and internal baiting practices. We even came across one today where you just scratch your head in terms of what's being done on some of these sites. But no, if this is used properly and certainly in accordance with the label and with site requirements, and like you said, as long as it's not too cost prohibitive, then we should be successful. Yeah.
Stay open-minded, and use as appropriate is the way of things. And don't expect miracles, but just because it's expensive, it doesn't mean it's going to be the answer to everything. But I'll stick to what I said earlier. I do believe it's going to open a few eyes, and for guys who are already latched onto it, they're seeing the sort of take that this stuff is inducing, and it can only be good. You assume that it's working as they're taking it.
Absolutely. Well, watch this space, and we'll find out as time goes on. Changing things up a bit now, Dave. Pest Extra in place of Pest X this year, running from the 16th to the 18th of March. Obviously, due to the pandemic, not everybody can go down to the Excel in London. We're going to have a virtual stand so that we can speak to people about everything we do, but with a larger focus on the bird alerts this year.
Yes.
Given that we've not presented at any of these trade shows previously, although the bird alert has been at Pestex in the past, but kind of fell under the radar somewhat. But with the changes to the goal legislation and the difficulty that people are going to come up against in terms of actually getting goal licenses this year, we do feel certainly that the bird alert could be a viable option for goal prevention. So, as I said, we're going to have a stand there. We look forward to seeing many people there. Are you going to be there? Are Rat Pak going to be there?
Absolutely.
Got something set up.
Yeah. We're going to be involved as we would normally be, and it's definitely going to be a learning curve on this one. None of us are used to doing it in this fashion, but it'll stay positive on it. We're all having to work differently. Look at how we're doing this. Once upon a time, we'd have all been sat in the same room having a cup of tea. But this still works in its own way. Pest Extra may prove to be a huge success. We all hope it will. But again, it's a break from the tradition. It's definitely going to be unfortunate that guys love to get together and see the people that they don't get to see very often. That's going to be the big thing. But that aside, no reason why we can't still take a lot from it, really.
No, I think it should be good. I can't see for sure exactly how smoothly it will all run. I know we're going to have certain appointment times and things like that, and like you said, it's definitely going to be a learning curve because it's you're going to be demonstrating products, but you can't physically get to them. So I still think it'll be a success, but it's missing that element of just being able to walk around and browse and bump into people and get your little goodie bag with
We
your free
will miss
coffee
that.
mug and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, we will all miss that. That's you know, some guys, they never miss these big shows, and others, you know, they attend as many as they can. There's plenty of pesties out there that don't want to go to them. You know, it's not really their thing, but for those that do enjoy them, they enjoy them for more than just the stuff that's there. They enjoy them for each other. They enjoy them for the gossip and the industry chit chat and the this and the that.
Yeah.
And you heard about this, and there's no substitute for that. We've all missed that for the last 12 months. It's been a real hell of a time, really. And this show, it's a shame that it's not going to see the beginning of the end of it, where we can all get back together. But we've got to be realistic, you know.
Well, fingers crossed it'll happen next year. That's what's being mooted at the moment is that it's going to take place in 2022. So hopefully
Yes.
that is what happens. But we'll catch up with you there as well.
Yes.
Just before we start to wrap things up, Dave, have you got anything else that you want to bring to us today? I mean, what's your current thoughts on just the overall state of the industry, how the industry has fared during the course of this pandemic, and just generally how are you looking at things? How does the pest control industry look through the eyes of Dave Helgeson?
I think I see it as being tough times, of course, but not still without its you know, it's got this sort of underlying strength. Perhaps we've lost some work out of you know, in one direction, but we've gained work in other directions. The suppliers, you know, you see it as a contractor, we see it as suppliers, and we're looking at the industries, but we're looking at it like that instead of both in the same way. And we see still quantities of products going out there, so guys are still busy. I'm talking to chaps all over the UK and Ireland, and you know, that not really, so few are reporting quiet times, and that in itself is great, because if we're going through something like this and the guys are staying busy, it says a lot for the industry. It says a lot for its resilience. Now we've got changes, still more will come in, like changes in technology and what we do and how it's applied and so on, and that will have an impact on the industry going forward. But I don't think many things could have such an impact as what we've seen in the last 12 months. God forbid we ever see this again, really. If we come out of this, you know, largely intact, it says an awful lot for what we do and how we do it.
I would say so. I think there's probably a small minority of industries that haven't been impacted too badly by this. I think everyone's seen an impact, and we have, but you know, pests don't stop just because of a global pandemic. So if anything, in some instances, it's been seen as more of an essential service than perhaps people thought previously, because we've seen it. People are at home more. They might have issues that they've been putting off, that, you know, they then get forced to work at home. They're spending a lot of time in their own property. That little scratching noise in the wall, or those pigeons under the solar panels that they've been meaning to do something about for a while, all of a sudden gets pushed right to the top of their list of priorities, because they are now at home all day, every day. And then what we've seen on the commercial side of things, emptier office blocks, emptier food premises, rodents pushing out in search of food from subfloor voids and things like that, clearing up any available food sources that have been left out in catering areas or desk pedestals and things, but then moving on to other areas. We've certainly seen it in some of our sites where there's been a widespread problem within a large building, where we would only necessarily look after a small part of that building, but because all the other parts of that building are currently shut, it's kind of just our area that has remained open. There's just been like a magnet to all the mice in the building, and we've seen call-outs and mouse activity, but also positive results, just absolutely skyrocket over the past 12 months, because as far as we're aware, there's nobody been going in and out of these other adjoining retail units and office areas, and we don't know if they're still receiving a regular pest control inspection at all. From what we've seen with our own eyes in communal areas that we've been able to visit, they haven't been. But you don't know what the catalyst has been for that. That could be that the client stopped it, or the servicing company might have just pulled their technicians out for their own reasons. We don't know, but we've certainly seen that it has had an impact where places have been emptier. The mouse activity has increased, and we've had to do something about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's also we've seen a change in some of the behaviour. It seems on especially with rats. You know, the boldness in daytime sightings and so on and so forth. And when that's happening, and the public are seeing them more, they're seeing these things that perhaps they don't necessarily always see, sort of scurrying about, and the panic level goes up as well. And it just if you like reinforces the need for good pest control, for correct processes and applications, just to keep these sightings down, because people just don't like that kind of thing. You know, they don't like rats, they don't like mice, they don't like wasps, and so on. And if they're more prevalent, more visible, I don't know, looking at it purely as from the pest control point of view, it's actually quite good, because it just reinforces again what we do and how important we are.
Yeah, it's needed. I think what really what highlighted it to us right back in the very beginning was with one of our aviation sites, that on the day that the first lockdown was announced, when it came to the end of the day, we were the only contractors left on site that hadn't had all their permit to works revoked and taken away, and that was because we were deemed to still be essential to them. Yeah. Every other contractor had stopped works and gone home. We went to hand our permit to work in for some ad hoc work that we've been doing, and then we were informed, you guys are staying, everybody else has been sent home, you're essential. And then after that, it was then the BPCA that actually kind of put things into motion to get pest control as the key worker status. Key worker status,
yeah, absolutely. And I think the BPCA did their thing. You know, they did what they needed to do back then. They got this. Ian Andrew and his team got behind the pest control industry. And if there's people out there that have the occasional swipe at the governing bodies or the trade bodies, the BPCA, the NPTA, but on this one, I don't think you can have a swipe at all.
They really fought them on that. You know, to get that was worth every penny of the membership fee.
Yeah, absolutely.
So regardless of whether individuals and companies alike agree with everything that the trade bodies do, to be fair, they stepped up there and pulled it out of the bag, and we got that.
Folks will always have their own opinions on this, and some like these, some like them, some don't like any. But I think also they've got maybe a thankless task in some fronts, because you can't please everybody, and while you can't please everyone, you're always going to you're a target. But you can't, like I say, I've got to reiterate, you can't fault them for doing what they did on that front for the key workers.
And I think there with what they did, that benefited the whole industry. For the UK, because you didn't even have to be a member to qualify for that key worker status. It could have been quite easy for them to say, we're fighting for key worker status, but only for BPCA members.
Exactly.
And where does that leave the people that aren't BPCA members? We are, so it would have been fine. But they helped everybody out there, not just the paying members.
And true, even if they'd only extended it as far as BPCA membership getting key worker status, you would say, okay, so the industry is ticking over to a certain degree. But looking at it from the other side of the fence, from the supplier's side of the fence, to have seen so many that wouldn't have come under that banner, and you suddenly think, oh my God, there's the market gone. So loads of pest controllers would have been in trouble, but loads of the suppliers would have been in trouble. It would have kicked back to the manufacturers. They'd have been in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh, perish the thought, really. So,
do you think if that had been the route that they'd gone down, that the BPCA themselves would have seen an increase in applications for membership?
I would like to think so. Yeah. I mean, it's they showed what they're perfectly capable of there, and it's they've got good guys there and girls, of course. Very knowledgeable and very helpful where they can be. I still think that from a personal point of view, I think they could be a little bit more out in the community, if you know what I mean. Perhaps mingle and talk with the pesties a bit more. But there's lots of things that happen behind the scenes. I've done M&D meetings myself, manager and manufacturers and distributors meetings. There's the technicians version of the same, and so they talk to all aspects of the industry, and they try and bring us together as well. So that there's a lot of effort, and I think perhaps goes unseen, and it wouldn't hurt them to let people know more often what they're doing for them.
Yeah. There certainly has been. There's been some good stuff. I think one of the things that they sent out was got the marketing packs and the social media packs that all came out on a little USB stick, and there was some quite good material on there that I think, because it got sent out to, I think every member got it, didn't they? It kind of got hammered in the very beginning, where everybody was sharing the same sort of things across the social media platforms. But once it all kind of died down, and you could dissect it a bit more yourself, there was actually some really unique stuff there that you could post at a later date once that initial sort of wave of eagerness had gone, that overcame everybody. But that's good. Just going back to the key worker thing as well. To their credit, at least the BPCA didn't actually see that as an opportunity to make money off it, because they could have just gone for that key worker status for BPCA members, and literally just looked at it and gone, okay, well, you're going to have to join if you want the key worker status allocated to you. How they would have implemented that, I don't know, but no,
I think also
credit for getting that.
They did all the work. They did everything that they needed to do for the pest control industry in the UK. They did exactly what was required, and then I think, to their credit also, they didn't harp on about it. Look how good we are, really, you owe us everything now from here. They just did the job and then got on with the rest of their job. And
I think that was the right thing to do, though, Dave, because it was uncertain times for everybody.
Yes,
that would have reflected pretty badly if the attitude had been, right, we've done this for you, so you owe us, or all your membership fees going up next year. That wouldn't have been too good. Hey, you wanted to interject, mate?
Oh, do you know, it was just saying what we were saying. I think it is, and pest controllers, we all sit there and think it's just about us, and whether that's a one-man band or a small company or a medium. But as you said, Dave, it goes right out. It goes down to, the suppliers, the manufacturers, how much further this industry goes. And we see it with our customers, our commercial customers, but, even down to like yourselves, Killgerm, 1EMV, Pestfix, the pest controller going out and doing the mouse treatment at that person's home goes right down to, the cleaner that even comes into your facility and deals with that. So it's a lot bigger than you first think.
Oh, it is, and then you've got lives and livelihoods on the line, and back in this sort of September and October period, all over the country in all aspects, all fields of industry and commerce and so on, and so many people got made redundant during that period, and when you wind it back 6 months to when we were going into the full lockdown, if things hadn't been put in place then, but that could have been so many more, and we're lucky to have come out of it, and be able to sort of reflect on it and think, great, we're in 2021, vaccines are out, it might be a long tunnel, but there's maybe a chink of light at the end now. Let's all go towards that instead of like wandering around in the dark. Oh my God, what's going to happen next? And I think again, it goes down to the robustness of the industry, to the quality of the guys that's in it, the technology that's being applied, and supporting one and all really to go forward. I think we've come out of it quite in good colours.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have come out of it in good colours, and as you guys were saying a minute ago, it shows, whilst it might not be in the limelight, but it does show the value that pest management has.
Definitely.
Within
it's
this.
Never going to be a glamorous job, mate.
It's never going to be. But
no.
I'm conscious of time, Dave, and you're a busy man and stuff to do. But really, really appreciate you coming on and having a chat with us, mate, and telling us about getting your opinion and having a little chat about some of the stuff going on at Rat Pak.
Yeah, no, lovely. It's nice to have the chat. It's been a while, and I'll until we can do this, more face to face, then we'll do what we can.
Yeah, no, thanks, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's episode 1 recorded in the bag. Please look out for future episodes being released on all major podcasting platforms. Let us know how you feel about things. Let us know what you think, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Coming to you from London, England, the original Exterminator Podcast.